What's up, everybody, and welcome to Bios3 RAW TV. And yes, I'm wearing the Ryback shirt, the Feed Me More Ryback shirt. For those of you that are making the comments that I look like Ryback, it's just the bald head and the beard. That's where it ends. So today we're going to talk about training, the optimal training zone, overtraining and undertraining. So this is pretty much how you gain muscle. Okay, this is how it works. This is what you're going to want to follow and try to stay inside these zones to get the most amount out of muscle. So I'm going to teach you right now how to not overtrain and not undertrain, because I'm getting questions about, well, how do you do this and not overtrain? How do you know how much is this? How do you know how much is not enough training? So because you're getting like the Dorian Yates thing and the high frequency and the high volume, and you get Lane Norton with his thing. So I'm going to break it down with the same principles that I learned in the Big Beyond Belief book, which I got, again, I've told you guys about plenty of times. So bear with me I don't have a dry erase board, so this is some scribbling on a piece of paper. So what we have here is the optimal training zone. Okay, right here in the middle is where you want to be training the whole time. Overtraining is where you don't want to be, and undertraining is where you don't want to be. So your program has to keep you inside the optimal training zone. So now what happens is, if you start here, you're untrained, okay? You start to go up through the optimal training zone. Now you're making gains, you're making gains, you're making gains, you're making gains, boom, gains stop. You keep going, you keep going, you keep going, you're overtrained, things get worse. So now what happens? You switch your program. Boom, you fall back into the training zone. Now you're pushing. All of a sudden, gains stall again. Back to the overtraining. Maybe take a week off, boom, you drop back down to here again. So the idea is you want to constantly push hard enough just to the edge of overtraining and then pull back so that you get almost to the point where you're undertraining, but you're not undertraining, if that makes any sense. So staying inside that optimal training zone is where you're going to get your best gains. Now, how do you do that? Well, that's different for everybody. And the Big Beyond Belief book gives you a program that you can just follow, which you don't have to really know how it works, and it'll keep you within that optimal training zone. It explains that it has this exact graph in there, and they have them ramp up and hyperadapt, and ramp up and hyperadapt. So you're always constantly teetering on the edge of overtraining, then dropping back, hyperadapting to the point of almost undertraining. Now, I get a lot of people who talk about steroids and what steroids do. And people think that these magical things that all of a sudden give you tons of muscle as soon as you stick one single needle in your ass or swallow a pill, which is bullshit. So I'm going to show you how steroids actually work. If you look back at this graph now, you can see these areas that I've scribbled in. This is your optimal training zone. What steroids do is actually widen the optimal training zone so you can train a little bit harder and a little bit longer, and then adapt and actually not undertrain a little bit less and a little bit more. So it actually widens that optimal training zone, so it gives you more room to play with, hence more training, more recovery, more adaptation, more results. And that's how it works. It's not a magical potion. And a lot of people don't understand how much recovery plays a role in how much muscle you build. It's not just the stimulus. You can go in there and bust your ass in the gym, but if you're not recovering, you're not going to grow, period. A good example is this: in 2011, I decided, I experiment, that's what I do. I don't just sit there and say, okay, this paper says I should do this, so I'm going to do it and it's going to work. Well, I've done that before and it didn't work. So now I got to figure, okay, there's other ways to do stuff. I need to figure out how they work and how to do them. So what I did was I decided to take every single rep range, weight thing, scheme, everything. Every single diet. Excuse me, keto, low carb, no carb, refeeds, junk, everything, and use all of them for 20 weeks leading up to the Maryland, okay? And that was the 2011 Maryland Championships. So I started at 265 pounds. The pictures are on my Diet Guy, on the Diet Guy Facebook, which you can link on directly above over here in my Facebook. And what happened was I did all these drop sets and supersets and all this stuff, and different depletions and reloads and all this stuff. And what happened was, by the time I got to the contest, I had gotten down to 200 and, I weighed in at 206 or 207, down from 265. That's a big amount of fat to lose in that short amount of time. It worked. However, the problem was my physique didn't look hard. It didn't look dense. My skin was thin when you pinched it, but it didn't look right. I couldn't figure out what it was. What it was I overtrained the hell out of myself, and the muscle, I'm sure I broke down muscle tissue. I'm positive I broke it down, no matter what anybody says. But I couldn't recover. There's no way that I recovered in that amount of time. So now fast forward to the following year, 2012, the same show, the Maryland. I decided to hire a trainer because I didn't want to do it myself because it was just too much work to deal with clients and my girlfriend and all their stuff, and mine too. I just didn't even want to think about doing my own stuff. I hired Phil Herndon, IFBB Pro Phil Herndon. And Phil's thing was a very back-to-basics approach. There's no machines. There's not one single machine on it at all. You got bars, you got dumbbells, and you got a chin-up and a dip bar. That's pretty much what you're working with. And I followed that for, let's see, October through the following June. The jumps that I made with that were phenomenal. A completely different physique in 1 year's time. And leading up to that show, I mean, I was doing probably, in 2011, I was probably doing anywhere from 20 to 35 sets per body part. And leading up to 2012, I was doing 3. Not 3 sets per exercise, 3 sets per body part. Which means that when I went into the gym to train chest, it would be chest, back, and calves. I would do 3 sets of bench press, 3 sets of chin-ups, 3 sets of barbell rows, 3 sets of standing calf raises, and I was out. So total, it was about 12 sets total, but each body part got 3 sets. 3. That's a big drop from 35 sets. And lo and behold, not only did I start to grow, but my muscle looked dense, it looked hard, it looked completely different than it did with all the high volume training. So regardless of what the science had dictated that I needed, well, if you stimulate the muscle like this, it's going to grow. It didn't work. And I thought it was absolutely crazy pulling back the volume that far, but I figured, you know what, I've tried just about everything else in my life, whether it's workout routines, diets, drugs, I've tried everything. I mean, just about everything in my life. So why not try this one way that I haven't tried, see what happens, and all of a sudden, lo and behold, it worked. And it worked because I was able to push myself to failure, which over 20 years of training, you learn that you can do mentally. But I was able to recover because I had enough time. I wasn't pushing the muscle so far and breaking it down so far that it couldn't recover. So that was a big eye-opener for me. And again, that's the routine I've stuck with for the last, let's see, it was a year, almost 2 years. No machines, no cables, bars, dumbbells, chin-ups, dips. That's it. And 3 sets per body part. And it works. You know, I don't think anybody would deny that I look better now than I ever have. And I'm doing less volume, but higher intensity during those sets. And I'm following the same diet. I still follow the same diet year in, year out for the last 2 years. Fruits like mango, pineapple. I have a fruit juice that I drink that's not from concentrate. It's a mango orange juice. Those are my only sources of carbs. My proteins come from ground turkey, whey protein, and Greek yogurt. And my fats come from olive oil and almonds. Those are the foods I eat. And then if I feel like eating something else like pizza or whatever I decide to eat, burritos, pizza, whatever, I eat it. And I stay, my body fat doesn't go up. It stays where it needs to be. And at the same time, my body's constantly recovering because I'm feeding it the right foods, doing the right amount of volume, doing the right amount of intensity, and I'm recovering. So this is a very important video to you guys who are not making gains because you may be pushing yourselves too far because you're young, you're ambitious, you're ready to go, you're full of piss and vinegar and you want to do it. But it all comes down to recovery. If you're not recovering, you won't grow. Bios3Training@gmail.com, www.bios3training.com is the blog. Comments down below, and we're out.